So I just received my automatic sport mode on harness. There's a forum member of the Fiesta ST forum, JDG, I believe. He's made up a few of these. I can't remember what he's using for the micro. I think it's a microcontroller that he put in here. I think it's Arduino, or I can't say it right, but anyway, he made up a few of these for $80. And the idea is it basically automatically disables the first. He does two versions. He does one version that entirely disables traction control, and there's this version that does the first level where you press the traction control button, it puts it in sport mode. And that I got the sport mode version because essentially it basically allows the if you have your access port programmed for its version of traction control to come on by default. So guys like Dizzy and then Stratified, they have that option to have it go into traction control mode by default. That's a superior spark-based traction control. Anyway, so the harness is simple. It basically you get the OEM style connectors, and you insert it in line behind the control button for traction control, and then you just route this fuse tap. You just have some electrical tape over it here into the fuse box behind the glove box. So we're going to have to take out the panel that the ESC control switches in, and one of the side panels to route it, and then take the glove box out. They're all pretty easy things, and I actually believe I've taken those out in other videos. So we're going to go ahead and install this and see how it works. Okay, so we're going to need to get to the back side of this button right here. So we need to pull this panel off, which is this entire trim ring here. So that guy's got to come off. This side panel needs to come off, and then I may just remove the glove box right now. All you do is you push the two sides in. Oh, sorry, got it out of frame. So you can see that guy came out. Get the one on the other side. And I'm sure all of my stuff's gonna fall out of it. And you just kind of let it drop. And hopefully, I'm gonna do it off camera because I don't want to break anything. Okay, with the glove box off, you can see I've got that fuse panel up in here. And it's hard to see with the camera, but this guy right here, the empty one, I believe that's the heated seat, but I don't think I have any of this fuse size on hand. So this guy, it's blue 15 amp up here. This is for the windshield wipers. So this is another good switched one. So I'm gonna put the fuse tap in here on that 15 amp. I believe that's position number 15, ironically enough. When you're taking the glove box off, you've just got to give it a little bit more of a push down than I was showing. You get the tabs out and you have it resting down here, but you've got to give it a little, just a small amount push down to get it to pop out. It's kind of the pain the way it's designed. The clamps on it, let's see if I can get a view of them. See the clamps on them, they rest around these plastic dowels. So you've got to, when you put it back on, you got to give them a little bit of a push to get them back in. So we're gonna go ahead, take this panel off. There's just one little pop screw, plastic pop thing back here, and then you just pull it out. Most of the clips are right in this area. There's one in the middle that you need to be careful of. Don't break it off. And I can't remember, there's probably one back here, but I think this is primarily what's holding in the back. But there's probably 3-ish clips right in this area, and then there's one right in the middle. So just be careful when you take it off. And then this guy, I think I pried it from the top last time, but I'm gonna have to see where the best place is to get it going. Okay, so with that back clip removed, this guy, once you take the center screw out, you can just grab this from the bottom and just lightly pull it. It takes it right out, so you don't have to use a pry tool or anything. This is where it gets a little more scary, is when you gotta get up under here and get it to free up. And you hope you don't break anything. I'm gonna stop the camera just so I can get a better feel, get my hand up under it to try to push from in here so I'm not bending it. There we go, we have the side panel off. You can see 1, 2, 3 clips in that back corner area, and one here. That's the one that you need to be the most careful with for whatever reason. That's the guy that mates right in here. and sometimes those can be a little fragile. So make sure that you have all of your white clips. None are still remaining in there. And then we're going to move on to this panel. I wanted to get that guy off to see if I could help myself a little bit by being able to get up under here, but I think I'm just going to have to pry at it. So to remove this center panel, you first start, I was a little backwards, I couldn't remember. You don't start up top, you get your fingers under this trim. And with one side off, you can easily grab it, but I got on the other side. You get under and you pull up from this side, sorry, from the back side, pull it up, pop the clips there free, and then you're going to work your way forward and then up and get the whole entire assembly out. Now watch out for the two wires that are behind here connecting these guys, and that should be it, because these are part of the main dash. You can see I have the bottom portion free, and now we're going to carefully work our way up the sides, and careful not to bend this plate because it's pretty thin. Okay, so you can see we have the panel removed. I think I mentioned it before. You're going to want to, I'll try to put it in this link too, but make sure you have some spare clips, because some folks are luckier than me. I seem to always lose those darn things. So you're going to unplug the ambient light, and then you get back here and unplug the connector we're actually trying to get to do the disable or auto sport mode. So there you go. Panel's off. Let's get a look on the back side. Yeah, I heard a rattle when it came off. Luckily it was just a clip and I didn't break the actual mount for it, but I heard it fall in, so we're gonna see if we can hunt it down. But you can see how easily you can lose these guys in here. So looks like we've maintained all the other clips. We're gonna go ahead and start wiring up the harness. So we're gonna take our auto sport mode assembly, and we're gonna mate. Let's see where the keying is on this guy. These two together. If I can do it with one hand, it's a big if. There we go. Nice snap, nice factory. May even be OEM connectors. It could just be Molex brand or something. And we're gonna want to tuck this guy in. Try to find a home for it, so you know it's gonna tuck up in there well. I think there's something blocking it, but if you guide it up a little bit of an angle, looks like it has a home in there. And then we need to route the fuse tap wire down through this center console area, and we got to eventually get it over to the fuse box. So I got to figure out if I want to route it on the outside of this bracket. I think I will, because there's cables. I don't know if that's I think it's a USB cable for the little pod back there, but route it along here, and I'll have to figure out a good path, and I'll show you what path worked out. So I dug up an old USB cable to fish through this gap in here to make it easier to bring this guy up through. Oops, sorry about the shakiness. I wanted to run them. There's a big gap in here. You could probably snake it up through by hand, or I guess this is all by hand, but without a little fishing line. But it's just so much easier because it wants to flop around due to the weight of the head. But see how easy? Came right through. So if you have something a little more rigid, you don't want to use like rope or something. You want something more like a wire. It's more rigid to get it down in there. So we have this guy fish through. We'll tidy a little of this up and start hooking it into the fuse box. Just seeing how frail these wires are down here, and that they factory taped everything. I just used some electrical tape to attach the power wire right to this guy. Looks a little cleaner, and then it won't, some zip ties, you know, you get them tight enough to do anything and they start cutting into the insulation. So I'll probably still use them up above, but that's that for down here. We left ourselves enough slack so this won't get tight, it won't be unmanageable. I routed it down in this hole because it doesn't seem to really want to come in contact with anything that's a sharp edge, so it doesn't get cut. I guess my only concern is right in here, and I think I'm going to tape it right here as well, just a thin layer of tape to this harness, just to keep it away from this metal bracket here as much as possible. Okay, so a couple of things I learned. What I believe to be the windshield wiper fuse. So I'm not, didn't have it all the way in. Not 100% certain if that 15 amp was it. My car has the base seats, so it doesn't have heated Recaros, but this was an open slot for me here. This one works. The heated seat fuse right here works really well. So if you don't have the heated seats, you won't have a fuse in there. So I happen to have some of these mini fuses. I just threw the smallest one I had. I threw a 2 ampere in there on the top slot of this fuse tap. And then because of where it's located, just like he has, I believe, I hope I don't screw it up, I think it's JDG on Fiesta forums. I said it right in the beginning. I may have messed it up, but anyway, you have to flip it around the opposite direction because it'll collide with that relay. So you have to flip it around pointing out. Sorry, I may not have a good camera angle for a sec. There we go. And because that eats up some of your slack, I needed to pull some slack out of my wire, and thought routing it under this connector here would be best, but I'm not sure. Still have to figure out the proper routing because I don't want the glove box when it comes up in to put any tension. I want to tuck this wire up in here as best as I possibly can up with these wires, so there's no tension on it, and I don't want the force of it being pulled to make the fuse want to come out. But this works. I'll show you it kicking over once I get this wrapped up under here. Just want to do a quick final shot of how I routed it. Left it taped up here. The tape worked pretty well because it allowed me to slide it under there without tearing anything on a zip tie. Taped it here and routed under this connector. Put the main power wire between these two portions of fuse blocks, and got that 2 amp fuse in there, and we'll give it a go. Okay, so like anything, before you button everything up, you want to make sure it works. So we're going to go ahead, start the car up. I think it takes roughly 20-30 seconds for it to kick in. Wait for something to pop up here. There it goes. So honestly, it's kind of funny. I think the windshield wiper spot may have worked. I just may have gotten impatient and it took longer than I thought it would. But you can see I pressed no buttons. Saw sport mode on the sync, and yeah, that's pretty sweet. So looks like it took closer to 35-40 seconds. That's pretty awesome though, that you don't have to mess around pressing that button anymore. So we're gonna go ahead, put everything back together. It's all reverse order. We're gonna have to be careful. Let me put this guy back in because that connector is kind of rigid, so we'll have to make sure it angles up. So when you're putting the center panel in, it snaps in really easy. Just kind of ease it in and make sure that you don't get any binding from that rigid portion of this connector, and then just start pushing your clips in very gently. The bottom tucks in real nice. Make sure all your sides are down. Real easy to put back in. Now we're going to go ahead and put the side panel on, then the glove box. So when you put the side panel back in, just make sure you have all your clips lined back up again. I find it easier to start with these back clips because you can see right there that it wants to get hung up on the seat rails. So let's get that guy in. You have to tuck this guy under a little bit because he wants to ride up on that trim. Make sure that guy's lined up. Start getting him snapped in. See this guy right there. You can give it a little bit of a bend in. Got to be careful though. You don't want to. This plastic's really soft, so if you get too aggressive with it, it's going to want to dig in. So I may have to get 2 hands on this because it's giving me a little bit of a fight. Okay, there we go. We got it slipped under. So there's that clip. There's one right about in this area. Oh, you see? Again, caught right there. So make sure you get it under. Again, it's caught. Gotta get it under. See, it's kind of a little bit of a fight with some of these panels. Not everything lines up perfect. There we go. It's all in. So you grab your clip for the back. Make sure your carpet's out from under it. I really need to clean this car. I'm sorry, it's a big mess. And you get this guy lined up in. Some people push these in. I guess I'm just too obsessive. I actually screw them in. Halfway, when you get halfway screwed in, the thing just pushes in anyway under light force. So get your carpet back under there. These are pretty weak little deals. Once you feel the slightest bit of resistance there in, you can see that one's already all the way in. Okay, so this panel's nice and tight. Didn't break any clips. And we're gonna put the glove box in. Okay, so the glove box, for whatever reason, is my least favorite part. Probably have time because I have a bunch of junk in it. But here's your little claws here. You gotta line them up on here, get them pushed in. So I'll do that off camera, and then once you have those in, you can push the sides in and lock it all the way up. Yeah, when you're putting the glove box in, your best bet is just to reach up under here and feel those tabs. You're gonna have it about right to where the little ears hit, and just push them in, you'll hear a pop. But just make sure, especially on the inside under here, that you feel them line up, because you could just be pushing against a different part and forcing it in a direction it doesn't want to go. So you get it back in, you just push these guys in. See, maybe the inside's the one that wants to go first. I gotta do it off camera. There we go. It's all set. Some things just need two hands, so I had to do the final bit off camera. And I've got my little hang tag that for whatever reason I always leave in my cars. I might just leave it up there. Actually, it's nicer up there. So we're all done. It's a pretty neat little feature. Hope this helps some folks out.